is the work of America. As he said, his dream is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. And that dream is the truth that all of us are created equal, that all of us have an equal voice, all of us have an equal responsibility in our government of the people. Now, as Mark said so well, Citizens United, and the path to that case, the terrible ideology behind that decision of the Supreme Court, threatens that equality. It threatens the very government of the people that we are all about, and those are the stakes. Big money and big corporations run our elections. I think we know that now. They decide the issues that matter. The ideas, the wishes, the hopes, the dreams of the average American are being silenced. And Ben Jealous of the NAACP put it just right, I think. We are facing a dual attack on our democracy. Everyday voters are being disenfranchised, while the biggest global corporations are being hyper enfranchised. And that is not a government of the people, and that's not democracy. But we can fix this. We can fix this, folks, but I have to tell you, it's not going to be easy. There's no shortcuts. We were a long way getting here. We're going to talk about how all day long, but here's the first how. We need the 28th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which will say that we, the people, control our destiny, that we have the power to make the rules for fair, free elections, and that corporations are entities that we decide the rules for, not the other way around. And getting there, that's not the only thing, and we're going to talk about a lot of other good ideas, but we know, given these stakes, given how hard it is, we know what Dr. King would have wanted us to do, and I know what so many of you are doing, and so many Americans across the country are doing. We're standing up. We're coming together. We're going to start walking. We're going to start working together to overturn Citizens United and to drive big money out of elections, big money out of the halls of our government. And that's the starting point, because what Citizens United is, it's not a speech case, although it likes to masquerade as one, the 5 defenders of it in the country. There might be 6, but probably there's at least 5. Say it's a free speech case. Well, no, it's a power case. 3 years ago, these 5 activist judges on the court said that we, the people, are not allowed to take corporate money out of our elections. Literally, that's the ruling. We are not allowed to. That violates the First Amendment, they say, if we try. It's against the law. And that's not all. They didn't stop there. They said we're not allowed to do what is a fundamental American duty to ensure equality in our elections, that we all come into the election as equal citizens, equal people. And that's another, it can't be that bad, right? No, it is that bad. Citizens United literally says that it is illegal to try to make a level playing field in our democracy. They say that violates the First Amendment. They say that's against the law too. So that's a ruling of constitutional proportions. It's completely wrong. It's completely alien to our national history and to our Constitution, and it will destroy our democracy if we don't overturn it. That's why we start with the constitutional amendment campaign. It's about power, and we are not about to give up our power that easily without a fight. So we're going to take it back with the amendment campaign. Just a preview. That election was just a preview of how bad it will get. And we don't know a lot, but thanks to the folks at Demos and PERG and others who released a report just this week, we know some things. And the reason we don't know a lot is because there's not adequate disclosure laws. But we know some things. We know that 159 people in a nation of 310 million contributed 60% of the super PAC money. We know that 32 people contributed as much as all of the small donors to both presidential campaigns combined. 32 people did that. We know that Chevron and international fossil fuel corporations funneled millions of dollars into the House Speaker's super PAC to stop any action on the climate catastrophe, to stop any action on fossil fuel subsidies, to stop any action on the ongoing destruction of the land and the water and the air that belong to all of us. And we know what happened in the small community of Richmond, California. 100,000 people live in Richmond, California. A Chevron refinery is also in Richmond, California. It's been the bane of the community for many years. and it exploded. They had an explosion there in August. Thousands of Richmond residents sent to the hospital. And so Richmond had a problem with the city council Chevron had a problem with the city council of Richmond. And they took care of that problem by running $1.2 million through a deceptive front group called Moving Forward, which elected 3 city councilors with Chevron money. So problem solved. I know, but it's really important to remember, Citizens United, everyone sort of looks at the presidential election, the media and stuff, and says, oh, well, maybe it's not such a bad problem after all, both sides compete, etc. We have communities across the country being taken away from the people who live there because of Citizens United. So we know on virtually every issue, we see the domination of our elections and our government by a corporate elite. So somebody said, what do we do? How can we do it? Well, 3 years ago, we started this constitutional amendment campaign, and you heard a lot of naysayers if you tried to talk to them. An amendment wasn't feasible, they said. A constitutional amendment doesn't happen anymore. The campaign, they said, we failed to do reality testing, they told us. Well, these folks don't get it. The constitutional amendment campaign is not about accepting reality or working within it. It's about changing reality. This reality is broken. So 3 years later, we have some reality testing results that we did ourselves. And I say we, I mean all of us. This big national movement that I hope you're going to keep working on if you're working on, and join if you're here for the first time. But here's some reality testing. In Montana, a state that went for Mitt Romney, 55%, a red state, we had a ballot initiative up on the ballot that said Citizens United is wrong, that said corporations don't have constitutional rights, and that money is not speech, it's subject to regulation in the election context by we the people, so that we'll have fair elections. What happened in this red state? 75% of Montanans approved for that and said we want a constitutional amendment, and they went further. The ballot initiative instructed Montana legislators and congressional delegation to work to get it passed and ratified by all the states. 75% of Montanans voted for that. Americans know what we have to do, and this one isn't partisan. This one, we have Republicans, we have Democrats, we have independents. We have to win our power back, so we can get back to arguing about a lot of other important issues. But if we don't have the power, those arguments are meaningless. So we're going to get the power back. Montana wasn't alone. That's the other reality testing is there's now, as Mark said, 11 states have joined. The policy of 11 states across the country is now 28th Amendment to get it ratified, get it out of Congress, get it into the Constitution, and overturn Citizens United. Nullify that case. We've done that 7 times before. We have 27 amendments. 7 of them overruled Supreme Court cases that the people knew were egregiously wrong and that we could not live with. So let's see if we can get New York and other states on board that one. More than 500 cities and towns have now done these resolutions, and even Congress is paying attention now because of that. We have 100 House members and senators on board now. I hear the gong is ringing, and I want to close with where I started, which is a tough road. We've made so much progress, but we're climbing a big mountain together, and I have a lot of hope, and it's not a naive hope. It's the kind of hope that David Orr calls a verb that has its sleeves rolled up. So that's the kind of hope that Martin Luther King taught us, and he taught us what to do with it. You take that first step. You don't necessarily have a master plan, but then you take the next step, and the next step, and you keep going. And Doris Haddock, some of you may know Granny D. Yes, so Granny D was 89 years old in 1999, and she decided she was going to take a first step. She decided she was going to walk across the country, 3,200 miles at 89 years old, to go to Washington and give them a piece of her mind about reforming our political system to get equality into our elections. And, people will say, oh, what's the plan? What's the plan? She didn't have a plan. She started walking. And she walked, and people came out of their house to walk with her. They fed her. They clothed her. They gave her a place to sleep at night. She went 3,200 miles, turned 90 on the way, and arrived in Washington to be greeted by a huge crowd, and Senator John McCain and Senator Russ Feingold. And as a result, what did we get? Well, you know, Granny D died on March 2010, 3 months after Citizens United was decided. She was over 100 years old. And she lived to see what she had helped make happen, the McCain-Feingold Act, struck down by the Citizens United Supreme Court. She walked 3,200 miles, she helped build a movement, she helped win progress. It wasn't enough, but it was good progress. Even that was struck down by this court. So when she heard about it, she said, I'm going to get walking again. She was 100 years old. And so she wasn't able to, but we are. And so in the name of Granny D, let's get up and win the 28th Amendment and take our power back. In the name of Granny D, Martin Luther King, equality and justice, let's get the money out, let's get the voters in, let's restore our dream of an American Republic of equal and free people. Thank you very much.